This week, Donald Trump had his lawyers approach U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein with a motion asking this federal judge, hey, judge, how's about you go ahead and you take this hush money case, you just take it away from Judge Juan Merchan in the state courts and move it, if you would, to the federal courts, because then at the federal courts, they said, we can make our immunity argument, then the whole conviction goes away. And of course, we don't have to deal with that criminal sentencing coming up in less than 2 weeks now. So please, for the love of God, judge, save our client. And just a few hours after Trump's lawyers had filed this motion, Judge Hellerstein, came out and said, No, I'm not going to do it because you haven't even met the burden of proof to show why this case should be moved to a federal court. But the ruling gets even better, and I'll get to that in a minute, but let me read this. The defense failed to meet the high burden of proof for changing jurisdiction, and that Trump's conviction for falsifying business records involved his personal life, not official actions. So, why would the federal courts be worried about this? Because he wasn't a federal person at the time. He was a state guy. Happened in this state. The state had the jurisdiction. He violated the state laws. There's nothing federal about this case, Hellerstein said. And that's when he took it a step further in a way that could severely screw Donald Trump over. Hellerstein wrote that nothing about the High Court's July 1st ruling affected the previous conclusion that hush money payments at issue in Trump's case were private, unofficial acts outside the bounds of executive authority. In other words, Hellerstein says, you're not immune. That Supreme Court's immunity ruling doesn't impact this case at all. That's a problem for Donald Trump, folks. Here's why. As I said, less than 2 weeks from now, we get that sentencing hearing, unless, of course, it gets pushed back, which honestly is probably going to happen. However, prior to that even happening, there is another thing that's going to happen on September 16th that should not be pushed back. And that is Judge Merchan holding a hearing as to whether or not the Supreme Court's immunity ruling does in fact apply to this case. And thanks to Judge Hellerstein, a federal judge, we now pretty much have an answer to that question. No. A federal judge has now put it in a ruling that Trump does not have immunity, that these actions are not federal, and if they were, they're still not unofficial acts. They're not official acts, they are unofficial acts, which would not be covered by immunity. Therefore, the federal judge says it is the ruling of the court that you don't have immunity. Trump might be able to appeal it. We'll see. I think the judge said, no, you can't. But part of saying, no, you can't actually is appealable. So they might be able to appeal the judge saying you can't appeal the case. And it's a whole tangled web. But September 16th is right around the corner. Judge Merchan is probably going to hand us the same ruling that Hellerstein did, saying no. The Supreme Court immunity ruling does not cover this hush money case. And hopefully he'll conclude that hearing saying, I'll see you in 2 days for your criminal sentencing. America's Lawyer has launched its own YouTube channel. Now, this channel, of course, is still in its early phases of development, but you can help grow it by subscribing. Just go to youtube.com/TheAmericasLawyer, and you'll get all of the great content from Mike Papantonio and myself that we produce every single week.